Okay, guys. Is everything working so far? Okay, guys. Noise. Okay. We're gonna react to the entirety of the FNAF timeline. Just for no reason to. Yeah, let's get started.
Get ready for a surprise! She can dance. She can sing.
All back, all of them, together in one place.
Five Nights at Freddy's is a franchise with over a decade's worth of content, spanning countless games, books, and now a movie. There's a reason that no matter whose timeline you watch, they all look different. Making a FNAF timeline is not easy. There are so many ways you can interpret this story, and this is mine. So let's start at the beginning. Back in the 70s, a company called Fazbear Entertainment got its start by creating different props and mascot costumes for carnivals, and specifically for something called the Fall Fest. The Fall Fest featured various mascot characters, such as a bird, an elephant, and the most popular of all, Fredbear and Bonnie. These specific mascot costumes were so popular, Fazbear Entertainment opened a dedicated restaurant for them called Fredbear's Family Diner, featuring the same Fredbear and Bonnie mascot costumes from the Fall Fest. What Fazbear Entertainment didn't account for, though, was one of their animatronics from the Fall Fest going rogue, ending in a giant fire, with most of everything from the Fall Fest being destroyed. The specifics about the animatronic that went rogue and the fire are unknown, and will likely be revealed next year in FNAF's next big release. Although we don't know much about how this fire occurred, we do know that after the fire, Fazbear Entertainment started phasing out of the mascot costume era. They needed something new. The two men who helped found Fazbear Entertainment, William Afton and Henry Emily, stepped up to the plate. William Afton was mostly the businessman of the two, handling all of the money, while Henry was the more creative one, with him being in charge of building most of the animatronics and props for the company. With the Fall Fest era of the company coming to a close, they were only left with Fredbear's Family Diner, the standalone restaurant created for the Fredbear and Bonnie characters. In order to replace the mascot versions of Fredbear and Bonnie, Henry went to work on new versions of the characters, eventually creating Fredbear and Spring Bonnie, the same characters but with new designs and new suits. Henry called them Springlock suits. These suits are able to double as both an animatronic and a suit that the employees could wear. To switch the suit from animatronic mode to suit mode, the employees could use a hand crank to pull back the animatronic parts, leaving room for them to climb inside. The spring locks that were helping to hold back those animatronic parts were very sensitive though, and with even a little bit of moisture, the spring locks could potentially snap shut, crushing and killing whoever was inside. But if that ended up happening, Fazbear Entertainment had some common sense procedures set in place.
In case that the spring locks come loose while you are wearing a suit, please try to maneuver away from populated areas before bleeding out, as to not ruin the customer experience.
I gotta be honest, guys. When you say stuff like that, it kind of has me a little concerned. Because now with animatronics, it's one thing to phase out of the mascot era, but I can't even talk for a minute. Like I was saying, it's one thing for the mascots to be phased out, but another to just add animatronics. Why not just stick with animatronics as it worked? I mean, like, it worked before. If it worked with kids before, it can work with kids now. Like it don't make any sense as to it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make any sense as to why you're using a mascot like animatronics, knowing full well that the spring lock animatronics could automatically eviscerate you. It doesn't make any sense.
Fredbear's Family Diner ended up being super successful for William and Henry, so much so that other companies tried replicating it. Another company proceeded to rip off Fazbear Entertainment's old mascot characters by creating their own animatronic versions of them. The leader of the group was Ned Bear, a direct copy of Fredbear, followed by a hippo, an elephant, and a frog. All characters from the Fall Fest, and all with slightly different designs to avoid copyright issues. But while the rival company was able to replicate the designs, they could not replicate Henry's state-of-the-art technology. Their robots were poorly made and had to have giant batteries with exposed wires on stage with them. Naturally, the rival company failed and ended up being bought out by Fazbear Entertainment. With all of the success from Fredbear's Family Diner, William and Henry decided to branch out and create more characters for a new restaurant. In 1983, William and Henry opened Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, featuring Freddy Fazbear, Bonnie, Chica, and Foxy. With the opening of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, Fazbear Entertainment was experiencing success like they've never seen before. But with two restaurants now open at the same time, more success also meant more work for William and Henry. The duo were so wrapped up in work that they started neglecting their own families. William was the father of 3 kids, the eldest, Michael, the crying child, and Elizabeth. The crying child has yet to have a 100% different designs to avoid copyright issues. But while
Like, guys, I know most of you don't really know if it's a confirmed name or not. I wouldn't know, but if it were me, I would just say, hey, 100% confirm it to be Evan instead of the crying child. But in this instant, I'll let it go because it's FNAF's video. I'll let him have his fun. Also, shout out to FNAF for making the entire FNAF lore. Although I do wish he'd work on Security Breach. Although I do wish he'd added Security Breach so we know what happens at the end. But whatever. Whatever. Anyone can make their own timeline. I do it, but I don't really feel like doing it. But I will say that my favorite FNAF character was the puppet, because I like the puppet. I mean, I like puppets. I mean, it makes me feel like a puppet with with somebody's hand up in my. Okay, I'm just gonna watch this.
confirmed name, so for this video, he will just be called the Crying Child. Meanwhile, Henry had one kid, a daughter named Charlie. The business partners spent most of their days working, so they both created different ways of taking care of their kids. Henry was the robotics genius, so he used his talents to create a new animatronic to watch Charlie for him. It was called the Security Puppet. This animatronic would sit by the door of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza and make sure that Charlie wasn't able to leave the building. This made it so Charlie could play at the restaurant while Henry worked, without Henry having to worry about her leaving the building or getting kidnapped. The robot was linked directly to a green bracelet that Charlie was wearing. If Charlie, wearing the green bracelet, tried leaving the building, the security puppet would spring into action. William, on the other hand, was the businessman of the company. He cared more about making money, but also saving money. Naturally, he decided to just force his eldest son Michael to babysit while he was at work. Michael was mostly in charge of babysitting the crying child. The crying child didn't have many friends, but he did have a close relationship with his plushies. These plushies were of characters from his favorite show, Fredbear and Friends, Fazbear Entertainment's newest cartoon, featuring Fredbear.
I mean, I kind of feel bad for the crying child not having that much friends and having to use his little plushies as his friends. I mean, I understand him perfectly. The Transformers figurines I used to have were also my good friends, but now I rely to props. But since I don't use stop motion videos, but since I don't do stop motion videos anymore, I'm tending to. We were supposed to donate the stuff to Goodwill, so that way other kids could have it. I don't know. I'm gonna get this one. Like, yeah.
Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, and Foxy. The crying child's favorite character, though, was Fredbear. He especially loved his Fredbear plushie. Although he loved the plushie version of the characters, the animatronics would soon become a different story. One day, while visiting Fredbear's family diner, the crying child saw something that would scar him for the rest of his life. While wandering the restaurant, he walked by the employees only room, where an employee accidentally left the door open. Inside the room was his father, William Afton, helping another employee into a spring Bonnie suit. But through the eyes of the crying child, this looked like someone was literally.
Let this be a lesson to any involved. If if you see a kid pass by, you're supposed to lock the doors before they see you do something. Common fucking sense, okay? Common sense, people. Close the damn doors.
Literally being stuffed into an animatronic suit. The crying child was so young that he wasn't educated on how the mascot characters worked, so seeing a human be put inside of one terrified him. When a child experiences something traumatic, their brain naturally tries finding ways to deal with that trauma. The crying child's way of dealing with his trauma was by creating an imaginary friend. This imaginary friend.
That's like my way of dealing with life, by creating an imaginary friend. And Optimus Prime from the Transformers franchise was my imaginary friend at the time. I mean, we still are close. I mean, I was really close with Optimus, so it wouldn't make I'm not making sense. Morning.
Friend took the form of the object he loved the most, his Fredbear plushie. His new imaginary friend Fredbear followed him wherever he went, shape-shifting into flowers, hiding behind cars, and in the sewers, with nobody being able to see him except for the crying child. When the crying child was overwhelmed, the plushie would talk to him and try to calm him down. Even when the plushie wasn't around, it was still able to speak to him, because it lived in his mind. While the crying child was dealing with the trauma of seeing what he thinks was someone being stuffed into a suit, his brother Michael was only making it worse. Michael knew about what happened with his younger brother and used it against him. Every day while babysitting the crying child, Michael would put on a Foxy mask, hide somewhere in the house, and jump scare his little brother.
I'll be honest. Like, siblings are always going to go back and forth. Like siblings go back and forth, so it wouldn't be a surprise to me. But like, using trauma against your younger brother when you're supposed to comfort the brother, that's like evil, okay? Like, I don't understand this guy. I honestly don't. Honest to God, I don't really understand why you would go out of your way to jump scare your little brother, knowing full well he's traumatized. Like, I don't like. What is wrong with you? Why would you do that?
From the pizzeria to your living room, you no longer have to wait to sing and dance with Fredbear and Friends. Weeknights at 8, 7 Central. Only on...
Yeah. Yep.
Through all of Michael's bullying, the crying child's imaginary friend Fredbear would comfort him and talk him through the situation, saying, "You know he is hiding again. Be careful. Tomorrow is another day." Michael wasn't the only one bullying the crying child, though. The local kids in the neighborhood heard about why the crying child was so scared of the pizzeria, even making up fake rumors related to what the crying child thought he saw there. "You'd better watch out. I hear they come to life at night. And if you die, they hide your body and never tell anyone." But all of this bullying would come to a head on one special day, the crying child's birthday. Ironically, his birthday party was being held at Fredbear's family diner. Because he was so terrified of being at the pizzeria, he hid under the table, not knowing that Michael and his friends were nearby, planning a prank that would go terribly wrong.
Make sure you grab your pizza. Fredbear and Spring Bonnie will be performing in 5 minutes.
It was at this moment that he knew his time was upon him. It was at this moment that he knew it was going to happen eventually. Or, I don't know, like, let's face it, sometimes it's a prank gone wrong. Sometimes it's a prank gone wrong. Other times it's a prank gone right, but no pranks should be happening like that. I'm sorry. Like, I can't.
Michael and his friends lifted the crying child up to, quote, give Fredbear a big kiss, and Fredbear bit down on him, leaving his body to go limp. Michael and his friends quickly stopped laughing. Because of Michael's immature behavior, his terrified younger brother paid the ultimate price. Although the crying child was badly hurt, he didn't immediately die. Because of the immense brain damage,
Now, please tell me something. Tell me something, and you're gonna explain something to me. I know he's got to go to jail. I know Michael Afton had got to go to jail. Someone needs to explain something to me right now. They need to tell me something, and they need to tell me right now. Because you can't just tell me that that your own brother can plan a prank that goes wrong by immature behavior and not go to jail. See, because if he didn't go to jail, if I was in the FNAF franchise, I'd turn like 20. I'd 21. I'd turn 21 next year, and I'm proud of it. But I could end up in jail, and I do not care who hears me say this. That right there is unacceptable. Unacceptable.
He slipped into a coma. After being treated at a hospital, the crying child was taken home so he could be comfortable, surrounded by his only friends, his plushies. In the crying child's final moments, Michael decides to apologize for what he's done, saying, "Can you hear me? I don't know if you can hear me. I'm sorry." After Michael speaks, the crying child's imaginary friend Fredbear, created out of the trauma he experienced, continues doing what it's done the whole time. It comforts him, saying, "You're broken. We are still your friends. Do you still believe that? I'm still here. I will put you back together." This would be the final thing the crying child hears before he dies. The crying child's spirit would then live on in the Fredbear suit, the thing that took his life. The crying child's death wasn't just an accident. It was directly caused by Michael's recklessness. This is something that Michael could potentially face jail time for, so it needed to be covered up. Since the
What type of immature, coked out, what type of coked out, rat piece of immature crap plans a prank, goes reckless by a prank? Did you even think about the crap that was going to happen before you did it? You had no idea that the spring locks would destroy him like that. You didn't even know what these spring locks were capable of. You just threw it in your cocky and half crazed. Freaking hell, dude.
crying child was being kept at home, no one else knew that he ended up passing away. So William and Michael ended up burying the crying child's body in the middle of the woods where no one would find him. No tombstone, no flowers, just a pile of dirt, an unmarked grave, and a lifetime's worth of guilt that Michael would have to live with. Shortly after the incident, Fredbear's Family Diner was quickly shut down, and Fredbear was completely wiped from existence. The Fredbear and Friends TV show turned into Freddy and Friends on tour. The Fredbear and Spring Bonnie Springlock suits also ended up being moved into the back room of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, mainly being used as spare suits if one of the Freddy's animatronics broke down. The death of William Afton's youngest son was a pivotal moment in this story, specifically William Afton's story. This was the first domino to fall. A father losing his son is a traumatic situation, and while any other father would take time to grieve, be sad, and properly deal with such a big loss, William Afton took a different route. Afton definitely was upset about his son dying, but it wasn't because he felt bad for his son, it was because it was embarrassing to him. William Afton was a narcissist. He had little to no empathy. All he cared about was
Whoa, wait a minute. I am disgusted that you would have no sorts of empathy for the crying child's death. Now, a death that your other son accidentally caused. I would say it was on purpose, but he didn't know the spring locks were gonna bite down on his brother, even though he planned that terribly wrong prank. But to have no empathy, to say, to feel like it was embarrassing instead of feeling bad about it. Do you even Do you even hear yourself, William Afton? Do you even hear yourself talking right now? It, I ain't gonna say anything.
Work and comparing himself to his business partner, Henry. Henry had a wife, a kid, and a talent for robotics that Afton was utterly jealous of.
Cause of jealousy. Wait, hold on, let me fix that. Let me see this right. Oh, I should have known it was going to be about you. I should have known from the beginning it was going to be about you.
The death of the crying child sent Afton over the edge because while Henry's family was still perfect, his was now broken. Henry and William had different ways of taking care of their kids, and while Afton employing his eldest son failed, Henry's security puppet succeeded. Henry's daughter Charlie lived on. Afton had a hard time dealing with this feeling of embarrassment. He started becoming an alcoholic, frequently visiting the local bar called Junior's. One night though, after drinking a little too much and getting kicked out of the bar, he decided that he was going to settle the score with Henry. Afton, drunk and filled with rage, drove from the bar to Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, where he knew Charlie was being watched over by Henry's security puppet. Afton planned on risking everything to kill Henry's daughter, Charlie. He didn't care if he got caught, and he didn't care if he went to prison. But when Afton got to Freddy's, he noticed that Charlie was standing outside by herself. It turned out that some bullies were able to trap the security puppet in its box and lock Charlie outside the building, giving Afton
This is exactly why. This is exactly why. This is exactly why I don't like bullies. I don't even. This is exactly why I don't like bullies. Because they do stuff like this.
the perfect opportunity to kill Charlie outside of the pizzeria. The security puppet was eventually able to escape its box and went looking for Charlie. As Afton sped away, the puppet noticed that Charlie was outside in the pouring rain. It then did what it was programmed to do and went to protect her. But as the puppet got closer to Charlie's body, the rain started making it short circuit. It was forced to crawl its way over to her until the rain got to be too much and the puppet shut down right next to Charlie's body. While Charlie and the puppet lay lifeless next to each other, Afton was speeding home, driving right past where he buried his son and the bar he got kicked out of. When Afton got home, he was met with his wife sitting in the living room watching TV and Michael in his bedroom. Afton was a drunk and abusive father and fully blamed Michael for what happened to his youngest son. Mrs. Afton tells him to leave Michael alone because he's had a tough day, but Afton doesn't listen. He goes over to Michael's room and pounds on the door, only for the door to be locked. He then makes his way around the house to try and find a way in from the outside. But once he gets to Michael's bedroom window, he notices that it's broken and Michael was gone. Michael was so upset by what he did to his brother that he would sometimes see visions of Fredbear appear and disappear. Tonight, Fredbear appeared outside his bedroom window, and it almost felt like his brother was calling out to him from beyond the grave. This would happen frequently, and every time it did, Michael would run to the spot where they buried his younger brother, only to find that nothing had changed. His younger brother was still gone and buried in the ground. Afton knew Michael did this often, saying, "Ran off to that place again. He will be sorry when he gets back." The guilt of killing his younger brother haunted Michael in his real life, but also in his dreams. Michael would constantly have nightmares about the animatronic that took his brother's life. These were the exact same nightmares his younger brother used to have every night, now passed on to him.
It's not really his fault. It's not really Michael's fault. Like, he didn't really know that the spring locks would potentially bite down on him like on his brother like that. But at the end of the day, you gotta think, man. You gotta think before you act. It's a simple concept. Think before you act. Otherwise, you'd end up no different than animals. Spoiler right there. It's right there.
After the death of Charlie, Fazbear Entertainment tried their best at covering it up. Fortunately for them and for William, the crime was committed outside, where no one was around to witness it. William was able to get away with everything, while Fazbear Entertainment never spoke of the incident again. The security puppet was quickly moved to the back room of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, where the retired Fredbear and Spring Bonnie suits resided. But something was different about the security puppet. Dark tears now appeared on the mask of the animatronic. Dark tears that weren't there before. This is something that Afton quickly noticed the next day when he went into work. He'd heard about what happened moments after he sped off. He knew the security puppet was found laying next to Charlie's body. So does that mean Charlie's soul now resided in the puppet? William definitely noticed that the puppet looked different, almost like it was haunted, almost like it was thinking. Other employees would eventually notice the same thing.
I'll be honest, I never liked that puppet thing. It's always thinking, and it can go anywhere.
After realizing the security puppet may be possessed by the spirit of Charlie, Afton went back and looked at the crying child's Fredbear plushie, only to find that it also seemed to be haunted. The crying child feared for his life every single day, and that plushie was something he was able to cry and pour his agony into. Afton believed that this is what caused the plushie to appear haunted. It wasn't made alive by the spirit of his son, it was made alive by the agony and fear his son poured into it. Afton quickly became obsessed with the concept of haunted objects, and more specifically, the power of human emotion. He needed to find out if this is something he could take advantage of. Afton then used all of his money he made from Fredbear's and Freddy Fazbear's Pizza to build a giant underground facility directly under his house. It was here that he would try to recreate what happened with his son, to recreate the fear and agony he experienced. In order to do this, Afton didn't take any chances. He needed to replicate exactly what his son went through every day. In order to do this, Afton built a replica of his house underground, along with his son's daily walk to Fredbear's family diner. He also built a makeshift bedroom where he could force kids to have the same nightmare every night. Afton would sit in his office watching them on the cameras that could be accessed using the passcode 1983, the year his son got bit. He also kept the crying child's Fredbear plushie on the desk as a reminder of what he was trying to replicate. In the makeshift bedroom, there were dummy animatronics that wheeled down the hallway. But the kids wouldn't see them as just blank dummies on wheels. Afton would pump hallucinogenic gas into the room to get the kids to think that what they were seeing was a monster. These nightmare gas canisters were being stored all throughout his underground facility, and on the bed of this makeshift bedroom was a Freddy plushie, in the hopes that the kids would pour their fear and agony into the plush, like his son did to his plushie. On the other side of the bunker, where Afton recreated the crying child's walk to Fredbear's, he placed a bunch of Fredbear plushies all over the place. These Fredbear plushies had walkie-talkies inside of them. This was Afton's way of recreating his son's imaginary friend that would talk to him wherever he went. Afton would speak to the kids through his walkie-talkie sitting in his private office. After setting up the bunker, Afton was only missing one more thing: the kids to run these experiments on. He needed a way to kidnap and capture kids without being caught, and he had the perfect way to do it.
The show will begin momentarily.
This is why I'm gonna have to end it right there. I'll come back to it later on, but I just can't right now. I'll be right back tomorrow.